चराचरस्य यथाग्नेर्दाहिका शक्ति रामकृष्णे स्थिता हि या सर्वविद्यास्वरूपां तां शारदां प्रणमाम्यहम्। नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। Dear friends, especially friends connected with the Vedanta Society of Connecticut, because this talk is mainly given for the Vedanta Society of Connecticut. Every month we try to meet, these days virtually, and discuss something usually connected with Bhagavad Gita, but this being the Navaratri season, the season of Shakti Puja, so let us deliberate a little bit on that. Let us try to understand and more importantly feel the idea of Shakti. It is difficult to express in exact words what is understood by this word Shakti, as the great sages have used it. The power of manifestation, which is inseparable from the divine principle of oneness. The oneness that is taught by the sages is not one as separate from many, but the one that manifests and pervades what we see as many. And this idea of manifestation is called Shakti, the power. Our common perception has this one and many. And so this question always comes, how the one divine principle is seen in infinite variety of forms, and that principle is described as power, Shakti, and it is because of the characteristics of a feminine principle is associated with the feminine gender, Shakti. It is to be remembered here that it is not in the sense as we understand genders, but it is the universal creative power that we see very clearly manifested in women folk. They gave birth, so to say, and we see the one from which many start manifesting. So that principle is the Shakti, and it is impossible to explain beyond this as to what it is, because all the explanation also lies in the realm of Shakti. And therefore, how to explain, where to find the words for it? They are also expressions of Shakti. Wherever there is expression, it is Shakti. Like we see in common, high school physics, that it takes power for any object to change its state, either of being at rest or in a steady motion. If you want to change that state, then an external force needs to be applied to do that. Otherwise, this is called the Newton's first law of motion or law of inertia, that it remains just as it is. So what makes the change? That making the change requires power. So that is why this is given as the example, Shakti, the force or the power, that it is the one gets transformed without actually any transformation, but yet it is seen to transform, and you are dealing with many. So what brings about this change? That is the Shakti. And in India prominently, you see this worship of Shakti very, very common. Most pervasive form of worship is Shakti, the power. And this great saint Jnaneshwar has described in his introductory verses to his small but great in value treatise, Anubhava Amrita, about these 5 Sanskrit verses describing in introduction. The main book is in Marathi, but the introductory 5 verses are in Sanskrit, and they describe how this Shiva and Shakti, the one and the many, they are together and yet appear separate. One, but two. He says how that coupling comes, we don't know. It is only, he says, it is Dvaita Chalan Moho. Means it is the appearance of two. It is really one. Like you see the shadows of an object. Many shadows, they come from the same object, as if the object has become many when you look at the shadows. Now, has the object really become many? No. Are the shadows different from the object? Yes and no. They are different and yet not different. So this is just an analogy. One need not take it too literally, friends. Because again the question comes then for casting the shadow. Actually, when I gave the example in one gathering, this question was asked that, well, shadow, to form a shadow, a light is required, a separate light. Then only the shadow gets cast. So, for God to cast the shadow to become many, what other light was there? So, You cannot really stretch the analogies too much. It is to understand the principle that this is to describe inseparability from the object, and in the process the object which is casting shadow remains unchanged. It is not even the conscious decision of the object, come on, let me cast shadow. No. Nobody takes that kind of a decision. The shadow is a spontaneous expression and inseparable. So this is the Shakti. And so the Shakti is worshipped in various different forms. And for everything, therefore, it is the power of Shakti that our sometimes it is since we all are experiencing the multiplicity, and for experiencing multiplicity we do not require any special vision or any cultivation of consciousness or any such thing. Multiplicity everybody sees all around, right from the birth. As the child opens the eyes, it is all multiplicity. And so multiplicity is just obvious state of affairs. For seeing the unity behind this apparent multiplicity, why it is called apparent is because it is changing. There is no stability to it. And therefore, when one tries to see what is real, you see that we get confused. And therefore, we try to go behind the appearance. Behind in the sense of transcendence. Let us see what is giving rise to these appearances. Somehow or other, we think that that's a puzzle to be probed. That is why there is the desire to get educated. There is desire to know. We want to know. Well, if whatever your sense experiences are, that is enough, then there wouldn't have been the desire to know. We somehow, in our awareness, feel that what we are just knowing through these senses is not real, is not enough, and therefore we need to know. And thus we try to probe behind these appearances, and there we come gradually to more and more a sense of oneness. And thus we have this worship of manyness from the oneness, that appearance of the many through the power of divine. When we probe, we see that we reach more and more intense levels of oneness, and thus get a harmonized understanding of many and one. They go together as it were. So, this is how this principle of Shakti is felt. We are in the awareness of multiplicity, and as Sri Ramakrishna used to say, that there is no going away from the realm of Shakti if you are seeing multiplicity. You are under the power of Shakti now because you are having this multiplicity. And so everything here requires power. Even in the gross world, our common sense, we see when during the hurricanes and storms, there is power outage. And we look for when the power is going to come back. Till then, again, we have some alternate substitute arrangement to power to carry on our functions. So we think of generators, or we light the candles or whatever. So it is, the power is a necessary aspect of our life. The food we consume, it is like the fuel that keeps the power going on for our actions. So power is an all-pervading phenomena. We always worship power in that sense without knowing that we are doing it. So when things are done with proper attitude and proper procedure, both are important. Proper attitude, and that proper attitude will give rise to proper procedures also. So this is the worship that one keeps on doing. Without the blessings of the power, nobody can realize the absolute divine principle. As Sri Ramakrishna gives that example from Ramayana, that it is Rama is walking, the Rama, Lakshmana and Sita, all three are in the forest, banished from Ayodhya, and so they are walking. Lakshmana is devoted to Rama tremendously. That is why he decided to come with Rama to forest. And then in between is this Sita, the divine consort of Rama, the power, the Maya. And in between Lakshmana and Rama, this Sita is there. That Lakshmana, the devotee, wants to have the vision of Rama. But what can he do? There is Sita in between. And he has no power over Sita. Hey, you get away. No. Better he never think or like that, saying like that. So he is just praying. That also not verbally or loud. But Sita understands. Sita feels that here is the devotee wanting to see Rama. So she moves aside a little bit so that Lakshmana can see Rama. That is a worship of Shakti. That, oh please, remove this covering. It is you who bring bondage. When we don't see your nature, it is bondage. When you reveal yourself, you bring illumination. So both are in thy hands. Today we shall take up for our study a beautiful poem of Swami Vivekananda, a Sanskrit poem. Swami Vivekananda's literature in what he wrote in Sanskrit is comparatively speaking much less than his voluminous English and even Bengali literature. So this is an Amba Stotram, a hymn that he wrote to Amba, the mother of the universe. So this is this has 7 wonderful stanzas written in very beautiful Sanskrit and containing lot of meaning. In the version that is chanted, a few grammatical corrections have been put in, but that doesn't change the meaning of these words. So, we will take up today. I have chosen just 5 verses from this hymn that brings out the meaning of Shakti and how Swami Vivekananda is worshipping Shakti. Let us remember that incident when Swami Vivekananda was Narendranath. He was not accepting Shakti. And Sri Ramakrishna, when he went to Sri Ramakrishna that do something, my family is almost driven to starvation. He said, do something. And Sri Ramakrishna said, well, why don't you go to mother and ask? Because you do not accept Shakti, so much trouble for you. It is, and that Swami Vivekananda, when that Narendranath saw that mother of the universe, Sri Ramakrishna became so happy. There is that description that Narendranath then became so overwhelmed by the feel of this, I should use the word feel, of Shakti, that bhava of Shakti. He even asked Sri Ramakrishna that teach me a song on the Divine Mother. So very illuminating incident, and Sri Ramakrishna became so happy. The reason for his happiness is that now the instrument through which his message was going to be distributed all over, that instrument is now getting ready, perfected, very nice. Narendranath later many times acknowledged that he is just the instrument in the hands of Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna was making that instrument. In Sardananda's biography written by Sardananda of Sri Ramakrishna, Leela Prasang, or divine play, you see there are 2 chapters on how Narendranath was trained or molded like an instrument being made. It is like one devotee was making the computer here, and then he was putting things and was seeing that everything is right or some mistake there. He was testing from time to time, and then his face was full of joy when he came to tell me, now it is done. Now it is done. Now it is ready for use. Wow, because the job is in a way done. Now Sri Ramakrishna's job was Dharma Samsthapanarthaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. That to usher in the principle of righteousness, to show human beings what is the goal of their life and how can they reach that goal. So that work now needed this instrument. Sri Ramakrishna himself, his body was an instrument. But that instrument was not capable as such in that form, doing everything. Just try, imagine, Sri Ramakrishna in that body in which he was doing sadhana at Dakshineshwar. Can you imagine him coming to Parliament of Religions in Chicago and giving sisters and brothers of America? You can't even think like that. It needed the same a principle, but has to be put in a different instrument to deliver that proper message. So it is that instrument got ready when Narendranath accepted Shakti, and then he had written many poems and many other literature of his, writings of his are about this worship of Shakti. So today we shall take up this poem that it is full of this idea and idea of devotion, idea of surrender. का त्वं शुभे शिवकरे सुख दुःख हस्ते आघूर्णितं भवज्वलं प्रबलोर्मिभङ्गये शान्तिं विधातुमिह किं बहुधा विभग्ना मात प्रयत्न परमासि सदैव विश्वे. O thou most beautiful, whose holy hands hold pleasure and hold pain. It is pleasure and pain, as it were being goddess in human form, two hands, So in one hand she is holding pleasure, and in another hand holding pain. And they change also, So difficult. You go to take pleasure and you get pain. That is what both are being held. So it is in the name of pleasure in this world you get pain. So this is how, and these are the holy hands. Who art thou? The water of existence by thee is whirled and tossed in mighty waves. Is it, O Mother, to restore again this universe broken harmony, that thou without cessation are at work? Why you are working so much? It is the harmony, as it were, is broken, and to restore it, and now you are working through this pleasures and pains and whirling everything. See, it is, the universe is incomprehensible. Howsoever you may develop this, our intellect and science and all, the mystery just keeps on becoming deeper and deeper. It is, of course, taken as an example of Newton's humility, but there is a great truth in it also, that when he was being praised for the tremendous scientific revolution that he brought about, it is immense. What Newton did was really a gigantic, huge work in the field of this science and mathematics. It is so. Somebody was praising him and he said, well, I have just found one little shell on this bank of the ocean. The ocean of knowledge is still, I have not even entered there. Just found a little tiny shell. And that is what the scientific knowledge always remains, because it changes by the time you see that, oh, we have found out, it has shifted. And so we are always in confusion. Aghurnitam bhavajvalam prabalurmi bhangai. That look at, and that ocean in turmoil, a lot of waves are tossed all around. If you see in a whirlwind, how the waters get tossed in all direction. If you are in a boat, the boat, you don't know which direction it is going to capsize. It is all so difficult to see that what is happening, because mighty waves are thrown all around. There is no end to it. How many waves can be thrown out from the ocean? As many as you want. There is there is no control. You are throwing it incessantly. And as a devotee approaching this tremendous source of power, I wonder, why are you doing this? That as a human being, we are compelled to ask why, even where we have actually no entry to ask why. It is, the power is there, it does whatever. So it is the question being asked in all humility, that it is is it to restore the harmony that is disturbed? That is how the differentiation is felt. I and the world. The harmony is broken. The oneness is broken. In the Jewish doctrine, of course, they interpret it a bit differently. Amongst them, the mystics, they interpret it as I am going to tell, that it is this God has given us this broken universe. The universe is broken and we have to fix it. So make the universe good. No, the universe cannot be made good. It is like this. But you have to see the harmony behind, and then you see the world as it is fine. If you see behind that, it is wonderful. It is one. There is no disharmony at all if you look at the spirit. And if you are not looking at the spirit, well, there is no bringing harmony to it at all. One may say, let us change the government. One may say, as if when this government was not there, the harmony, was it there? It is always going to be from the times of antiquity, even before the earth was formed. There is this disharmony in the universe. Is a matter of its nature. It is always going to be disharmonious. And yet we crave for harmony. Where is the harmony? Harmony is, you have to go a little deeper. And this is why pleasures and pain are all scattered in such confused distribution that one would be made to go deeper because of the pain that you feel, the frustration, the pain. Isn't it so frustrating that we want pleasure? Everybody wants pleasure. But we don't get it. And thus we feel the need to go beyond. So that is why probably you can, this is the, if you want to associate a causal clause there, that it is because of this, O mother, is it, O mother, to restore again this universe broken harmony. Where is that broken harmony to be restored? It is to see the truth. And then the harmony is restored, that there is actually nothing wrong. It is only the superficial appearance that is causing all the problem. And this is the nature of worship. When we worship, you can see that it is, we try to go beyond that particular appearance of deity. Many times many, even amongst these Hindus also, there are some who are as such Hindus, but they say that what is this worshipping image? Worshipping image is not right. Like the Brahmos in Sri Ramakrishna's times, that image worship is wrong, bad. Even the Arya Samajists at one this thing, that image worship is bad. No, we should not worship image. But if you see that nobody really worships image, but that of which the image is symbol, and that is you will see a funny thing happening. You go before the deity and close the eyes. Why do you close the eyes? You will see that even our Vittu goes there, salutes and close the eyes. Why? Because there is something beyond the form that we want to see. The form is just a symbol, and you want to go and see beyond this symbol. It is not the thing in itself. That image is not otherwise important. Symbols are like that. That, for example, you see on the driving on the road, and you see the red lights on the street, red light. And what do? Admire the redness there? No. You stop. That is a symbol to stop. So it is exactly that. So this is how the whole, that principle of Shakti, that this image is something that's suggestive of something behind. So see that harmony will be seen there. Are you trying to bring that harmony? This is what is called the Vidyamaya. Sri Ramakrishna told that, well, Maya is of two types. The one which entangles, that aspect of Maya which entangles you more and more in the world, which makes you think, let me become more prosperous, let me acquire more property, more money, more family, more name and fame, more enjoyment, and so forth. That is that Maya which entangles and binds, and Sri Ramakrishna would call it avidyamaya. The Maya, or the power of bondage. And then there is the power of freedom, that which binds when propitiated in the right way. It frees you also. When propitiated for these money and all such things, okay, have it and see for yourself what is it. That is how the children, they keep on crying for things which are not right for them. So parents don't want to give, but if they cry too much now, can't stop them. Okay, take it, leave me alone. And then what happens? The child has to face some bad consequences of it. So therefore the child understands this is the how the price has to be paid for education, you know. It is in our language it is said that, well, if you commit some mistake and thereby you have to suffer some loss, instead of making you discouraged and depressed and sad, it is told, oh, this has been spent, consider that this has been spent for education. So at least take lesson from this, spent on education. So learn from it. So you learn from it and go to in the right direction. So is it for this that there is so much misery in this world? Why God should keep misery if the Lord is what we call Ananda Swarup? Then why should that God's universe have so much of misery? The answer could be that even with the misery that we undergo, we are not ready to give up the attachment to it. Imagine, had it not been so miserable, how much we would have held on to this ignorance. Because the ignorance brings so much of misery, at least there we get some feeling that we should give up and go to that which is the true spirit of joy. We have to give up this ignorance. This giving up comes because of the pain that it brings. So that is why the pain is kept so much here. That let us feel that renunciation. When you don't feel it, like I have seen that in those who get that leprosy. Now, if you touch some, say, very hot object, then you feel pain, you cannot hold it, you drop it. But in leprosy, that sensation is gone. Those that nerves that carry the sensation of heat and cold from the skin, that is gone. And so this person holds the, say, a hot pot or even this burning, this fire embers. Burning embers are held, but no feeling of pain, not because of any mastery, but because and so they get all the burn wounds. Imagine, the effect is going to be there. But since the pain is not there, they cannot, throw it out. So that is how pain is so important. Don't go. There is pain there, and that will guide you to the right direction. That form of a Divine Mother which will liberate you, restoring the harmony. So that is how this is to be fixed. So we come to the next stanza. Sampadayantya viratam tvaviraamavritta yavai sthita kritafalam tvakritasya netri same bhavatyanudinam varada bhavani janamyaham dhruvamidam dritakarma pasha. Oh, may the mother of the universe, in whose activity no respite rests, incessantly distributing the fruits of action done, guiding accordingly all actions yet to come. This is called the cycle of karma. That you do something and then you have to take the result of it, which becomes another karma, and that again keeps on goading you in that direction. That is how the bondage of karma is. It is that every action leads to its result, which in turn again leads to another karma. Then again the result, again karma. So it is a cyclic bondage. You don't have the way to get out. It is, you just go on driving on the circular road. No end to it. So that is how this karma is. All actions yet to come are guided by that. So where is the liberation? Bestow her boon, may she bestow her boon of blessing on me, her child. For evermore I realize, I know that it is thou who holdest in thy hands the dread karma's rope. It is only by your grace that you can break this cycle or the bondage of karma that we are caught in. Karma bandha. This is the bondage that we are in this. So it is a prayer that makes us, that somebody may say, well, by karma yoga, does it not happen? Yes, but what is this karma yoga? It is doing the work for God, doing the work for this Divine Mother. That is the change of this nature of activity which the Mother's grace brings us to. So, Swami Vivekananda therefore prays, and look at his experience. When he went to Sri Ramakrishna, all earnestness, all real yearning, because his family was suffering terribly. They were at the brink of starvation, and so many problems of this worldly life. The lawsuits were applied on them, very difficult, and thus he was in that condition. So now there is that earnestness, and that earnestness was bringing that prayerfulness, that okay, please, 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 when you are earnest, then you pray with that, oh, I want it. Otherwise, if you want to give, forget, who cares? No, at that time not who cares. Please give me. We all have experienced such incidents where you are on the brink of being completely lost, and so you are praying really with earnestness then. So this is that dread karma's bondage, that it is karma's rope which keeps on dragging. Remember Swamiji's that other poem, very famous, the Song of Sannyasin, that it is, we see that we have to give up that hold on the rope of karma, but without the Mother's grace, we cannot do that. It is, he says there that, look, thine is the hand that holds the rope, that drags thee on. Let us feel this, that we are being dragged by this rope drag thee on. So, that is the karma's way, and only that Divine Mother can release us from that. And he says that how much can I praise you? It is impossible. Kvamba Shiva Gunanam Mama Hina Buddhe Dhartum Dorbhyamiva Matir Jagadekadhatrim Sri Sanchitya Sucharanam Abhaya Pratishtham Seva Parairabhinutam Sharanam Prapadye. What thou art, the Mother, the All, how praise! My understanding is so little worth. It were like the desire to seize the hands with hands of mine, the sole supporter of the universe. It is only the love that I can offer, what else? So at thy blessed feet, contemplated by the goddess of fortune herself, the abode of fearlessness, worshipped by service true, there at those blessed feet I take refuge. Describes that how so many sages and the divinities, they have taken refuge in you. I also do the same thing. Please bless me. I cannot know you. I don't know how to praise you. Impossible to praise you. After all, you are the giver of power, the words. How to praise that which is all pervading? I cannot hold it. It is that I was telling a little boy, okay, your mom's birthday, give her some nice present. And of course you can charge it to her credit card because you don't have my money. So what can you do? Well, it is but you can give it lovingly. That does not cost money. That loving adoration, that is what we can give. So that is how he submits his prayer, that okay, that there at those blessed feet I take refuge. It is Santanayanti Jaladhim Janimrityujalam Sambhavayantya Vikritam Vikritam Vibhagnam Yasya Vibhutayahi Amita Shakti Pala Nashrityatam Vadakuta Sharanam Vrajama. Manifestations of her glory show in power of immeasurable might throughout the universe, powers that swell, the sea of birth and death, forces that change and break up the unchanged and changed again. Lo, where shall we take refuge save in her? There is that the only source of refuge is that which, although one appears in this Shakti, this form, and thus that is where one has to take refuge to get liberated. Then the liberation comes. Through ego, it doesn't come that I will get liberated. Well, that is a problem is right there, I will get. I is in bondage. I is the expression of bondage. So how can I get liberated? No, not possible. It is the problem is to be solved by surrendering the I to this divine power. This little self has to be given up, surrender. It cannot be made good. The world can never be made good. As in Karma Yoga, Swami Vivekananda says, it doesn't need fixing. As it is perfect. It is perfect for us to do the sadhana of giving up this names and forms and moving to God. It cannot be made perfect. The tail of a curly tail of dog, you cannot straighten it. But yet, if you learn from it, you become straightened, The tail remains the same. Your crookedness goes away, that's all. And that is the purpose of doing it. So, lo, where shall we seek refuge save in her? Other important reason is in making this a feminine principle is that mother is generally speaking, in almost all cases, is more considerate and forgiving than the dad who wants to the child to be very much disciplined and exacts all the rules, and it's so. But mother understands, after all, my child. So with mother, the children tend to take more liberty. Father is the chastising father, and the mother is okay. Give considerations are there, concessions are there. So mother, after all, well, they are not to be blamed much because they are my children. So it is, thus we approach the mother. Oh, please, yes, the dad, difficult, So it is, but mother can be, you can just cry a little bit, or even if it is a sham cry, the mother says, okay. It is, when there is a sincere cry, of course, mother is going to yield. So that is how the mother is considered in this respect more powerful and more worthy of prayer. So it is, the mother is all to be prayed. So it is, even many the tantras have come like that. The discussion between Parvati and Shiva, that Shaiva tantras are like that how they came about, that Parvati cannot see the troubles, the misery of the children, and therefore wants Shiva to open the gate of liberation for them. But Shiva says, well, it is open, they have to perform sadhana and that's it. They have to get the qualification. Who bars them? But Parvati pleads for all these children like us. That look, those are all so difficult. How can you expect them to go through all these? Not possible in this age. So please bring a simplified shortcuts and good versions for my children. and Shiva is not ready. But Parvati puts her foot down. No, you have to do it. And now Parvati says like that Shiva had to yield. It says that is why the Tantra was given like that. It therefore gets the name Agama. That Agama means it is told that Agatam, the first letter is A, Agatam Shiva Vaktrat. From the mouth of Shiva it has come. Agatam Shiva Vaktratu. Gatam cha Girijanane has gone to the daughter of Girija. So, going towards Girija, the Parvati. So, and then it is Matam Vasudevasya Agama iti prakirtitah. That is why it gets called Agama. So, you approach the mother of the universe and everything is done for you. This we did, Santanayanti. And the next verse, that is the last verse we are taking today. Ya mam chiraya, here the version is mam ajanma. It means same meaning. It is Ya mam chiraya vinayati ati dukha margai asiddhitair swakalitain lalitair vilasai ya me babuddhim suvidadhe satatam dharanyam samba sarva mamagati safale faleva. She who since birth has ever led me on through paths of trouble to perfection's goal, mother-wise, in her own sweet, playful ways, she who has always through my life inspired my understanding, she, my mother, she, the all, is my resort, whether my work rewarded with full fruition or with none. It is the work, she is the rewarder of it. So she is my refuge. And how is it? This is a very sublime words are here. It is, she has inspired my understanding. She, my mother, she. And it becomes now my mother. See, and mother, even if the child wants to child gets angry with the mother and then would cry, say, you are not my mother. You are not doing anything good for me. You are only scolding and telling me don't do this, no, don't do this. Look at the other that my friend's mother, how nice she is. But the mother of the child does not get too upset because the child wants to get away. Mother does not throw the child away. And that is how the only refuge for us, we are not always good children. Let us confess it. We many times want to get rid of this kind of, mother who does not give us happiness, gives pain. But mother doesn't give up us. So that is the mother, that we may say whatever, but the mother does not give us up. This is the greatness. Like Holy Mother said, somebody said, oh, this fellow does such bad things, and why you let this fellow come? She said, well, they are my children. If the child smears all the dirt on the body, the mother does not throw the child away, mother only cleans the child, you see. So that is the job of this mother. All this is cleaning process, you know. That it is, the child doesn't want to take shower, doesn't want to go and take bath, the mother has to push that. And because the child has to be cleaned, child is not to be thrown but cleaned. So this is how Swami Vivekananda prays, you know, that to mother, whom else to pray. So this is how we discussed a little bit about puja, the worship of the principle of Shakti. This is the time considered very suitable for the worship of Mother Durga or Shakti. And so we took up this poem of Vivekananda, which is a great poem, but not so often studied. Somehow, in Vivekananda's writings, this has a little obscurity. But I love this poem a lot. And so I thought on this occasion of Navaratri, let us discuss the salient points of worship of Shakti, taking up this poem as our support. So, thank you, friends. Salutations to the Divine Mother, to Holy Mother, to Sri Ramakrishna and Vivekananda. If you have any questions, we shall take them up.
There are two questions. First one from Srinivas Yuvan. Maharaj, when spiritual aspirants are in a stage where they neither have much attraction towards worldly things, but also cannot efface the memories of sense objects, what must we do?
That is a very good question. And that is a problem with all of us. That is why this worship of Mother, because what has happened is that whatever has been done, now we may not be experiencing that attraction for the sense objects for various reasons. But they have become the sanskaras, the microprocessed seeds, as it were, of those. And they are not letting us do something for our liberation. They are not letting the attraction for the spiritual life or towards God function. So, let us pray. This is the realm of prayer, therefore. Even if you don't feel attraction for prayers, pray. It is that will reduce those seeds of impressions. They will turn, as it were, their power will become diminished. As the yoga aphorisms say, that these are the attenuated, weakened sanskaras. And for that, we have to pray. Like I had given earlier some example of the weeds growing. So, put some other seeds which will be stronger than those weed seeds. So gradually those weeds will not find any food, and then they will slowly subside. So this is how the practice of mantra, it is to be taken up. The practice of mantra, the practice of prayers, even though there is no sincere attraction felt. But the question shows that there is some attraction. Otherwise, this question wouldn't have come. That the sense objects, their attraction, it is now not functional. Why not functional? Because there is the other attraction. Now they are kind of kept in balance. One, one is not allowing other to function. So keep up the practice of prayers assiduously. Keep up the sadhana of doing your meditations and prayers. Keep it up, and then that will gradually make. You can see that slowly this attraction for sense objects will wane further, and the attraction for God will then get more scope to manifest. That is how the things will progress in life.
Next question from Max Meyer. What is the relation regarding doership between Vaishwanara, Taijasa and Shakti?
Oh, they see Vaishwanara and Taijasa. Well, they are to explain a little bit, I think the questioner, that Meyer means that it is the gross body is called Vaishwanara, and the subtle body, means the I associated with gross body, is called Vaishwanara, and the I associated with the subtle body gets called Tejas. So, and what is the relation of Shakti? Both of them are the waves on the ocean, as we saw the ocean of Shakti. That ocean is Shakti, which is vibrating in these forms of subtle and gross bodies. And the work is done by Shakti, the throwing of the one into multiplicity. So this formation of the gross bodies or subtle bodies all is powered by the Shakti, which is, although one appears to be many, that is how the Chandi, the 700 verses of Durga Saptashati, we will take up its study a little bit in the evening, and at 5 p.m. our regular lecture, we will see a little some hymns where it is described that although one, she is described in many different forms. So that is the relation of Shakti with the Vaishwanara, that is the self associated with gross body, and Tejas, the self associated with subtle body. So, yeah. So, very good. So, we shall conclude this discussion praying to our Divine Mother, and now we shall switch to the Zoom session where there will be devotees will be singing or having some discussion. So, that whosoever is there while doing that. So I am also now going on Zoom. That is to be switched off, yeah.